Conor Gallagher is flying out to Spain for a potential move to Atletico Madrid. Hi, good evening. Welcome along to the Transfer Show. Yep, Chelsea in the news. Could they be ready to move on from Victor Osimhen and sign a striker will have a knock-on effect on Julian Alvarez's future at the champions Manchester City? So many moving parts to update you on in the next half an hour or so. Now, as PSG announced the £58 million signing of João Neves, we'll look at what that means for Manchester United's pursuit of Manuel Ugarte. And we'll reveal which Premier League club is the latest to try to sign Matt O'Reilly from Celtic. It's the Transfer Show. We start with breaking news. Dharmesh, what have you got?
Yeah, the big breaking news is a done deal. West Ham United have signed Niclas Füllkrug, the German striker from Borussia Dortmund. He signed a 4-year deal. We think the fee is in the region of £27.5 million. That's including performance-related add-ons. He tried to sign the player before, did Tim Steidten and West Ham United. This was last summer when he was at Werder Bremen, but he decided to go to Borussia Dortmund, signed a 3-year contract with Borussia Dortmund. But now he has got his man. A year later, they pursued him. They pursued him for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they finally got the deal over the line. What are they getting? Well, they're getting an experienced player, 31 years old, a German international, and, of course, he played a part in every single one of Germany's games during Euro 2024, scoring 2 goals in the process as well. So the big breaking news at the top of this hour, West Ham United have got their man. They have signed Niclas Füllkrug from Borussia Dortmund on a 4-year deal for a fee in the region of £27.5 million.
Wow, Tim, that feels like a hell of a signing for West Ham.
Hugely significant. We know what he's all about. He'll bring goals to the team, and I think these are exciting times for West Ham fans. They've been busy over the course of this transfer window so far, and exciting times, as I say, to look forward to with the new season now not too far away.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk more West Ham in a little while because, as Tim says, they are getting busy. Right, speaking of getting busy, to a transfer that is gathering pace. Chelsea midfielder Conor Gallagher looks like he's on his way to Atletico Madrid. Our reporter Melissa Reddy is with Chelsea on their pre-season tour of the States. She is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and joins us now. Nice to see you, Melissa. So where are we with this one?
Yeah, after exhausting all avenues to try and reach a compromise with Chelsea over new terms, Conor Gallagher is now waiting for the green light to fly to Spain to have a medical with Atletico Madrid and sign for them. Now, Chelsea had actually agreed a deal in the region of £34 million with the Spanish club last week, but Atleti were very unsure over whether Gallagher actually wanted to join them, and so they gave him a deadline until the end of the weekend to make a decision, because they actually ultimately needed to kick on with their pre-season plans. I'm told that Gallagher communicated that he would actually join them just before the deadline elapsed. Now, in the last few days, there's been lots of intense talks with Chelsea over the deal that was on the table for him to remain at Stamford Bridge. Now, that was a 2-year contract with the option of an extra year. The issue for Gallagher is he felt that didn't give him any security in terms of the length of deal, but also that he didn't reflect his contributions to the club and his status within the squad. Now, Chelsea, they felt that it was a fair proposal because their belief is that Gallagher wouldn't be a starter in Enzo Maresca's possession-based approach. He would just be a squad player. So they didn't want to tie him down to a longer deal for that matter. And then the issue Gallagher had with that is he didn't mind disproving that theory. He didn't mind showing that actually he could adjust to the new system. What he didn't like was that it was already thought that he wouldn't be able to without even giving him the opportunity to do so. So there was a lot of back and forth. Gallagher, I'm told, was really torn because ideally he wanted to stay at Chelsea. And if those terms, if the length of the contract was changed, that would have been the case. Chelsea feel they've been shrewd rather than sentimental. And actually, in business terms, this is a really good deal. They didn't want to sell Gallagher to a Premier League rival. They wanted a fair price for him, which they have got. They feel that the player gets to test himself at an elite club. He gets Champions League football. He gets introduced to a new culture, new style. It would up his game. So business-wise, very good deal. Emotionally, a lot of Chelsea fans will feel quite sad about this, as with Gallagher. But right now, he's just waiting for the chance and for the green light for Chelsea to say, OK, we've got the paperwork. You can now fly to Spain and finalise that transfer to Atletico Madrid.
Melissa Reddy, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks, Melissa. So, Dharmesh, that's where we are. How do we get to this position with this deal?
It's a good question. There's been interest from Atletico Madrid throughout this transfer window, but we knew that there was a big gap in valuation between what Chelsea wanted and what Atletico Madrid were prepared to pay. Then, as Melissa mentioned there, last week, we had that breakthrough and Chelsea lowered their terms and agreed a deal with Atletico Madrid. So the big question was, why did Chelsea lower their terms and agree that deal with Atletico Madrid? There are two sides to this. First of all, it was made clear, as Melissa said, that Gallagher was only going to be a squad player. And they offered him, off the back of that, a 2-year contract with the option of a further year. Now, it's understood that Chelsea's feeling was that Gallagher is an England international, and for him to continue being an England international, in fairness to him, he needed to go somewhere where he was going to have regular first-team football. Hence why they said, right, we will lower the terms with Atletico Madrid so you can go for that move. Now, on face value, you could say, right, Chelsea have helped out Conor Gallagher because they have lowered their terms to allow Atletico Madrid to agree. However, I'm told by one source that Conor Gallagher was made 2 contract offers by Chelsea. Now, this is quite significant. It's understood both of those offers were 2 years plus the 1-year option that we've been speaking about. Now, the first one came 4 days before Euro 2024 started, and it came after he had rejected the chance to join Aston Villa, Conor Gallagher. The second offer came just before Chelsea had agreed a deal with Atletico Madrid last week. Now, that offer was once again identical to the one that was offered to him in the first place, which was 2 years plus a 1-year option. So read into that what you will, because as much as we're hearing there are many offers and Conor Gallagher might have turned these down, as far as we're aware, the 2 contract offers that were given to Conor Gallagher to consider were both the same. And they came at different times, 4 days before the Euros and once last week. We're told that Conor Gallagher was open to signing a new long-term contract at Chelsea because he did want to stay at the club, but it had to be in line with the kind of length of contract that other midfielders in his position were getting. And we know the norm at the moment at Chelsea is we talk about it all the time, Mike, when we hear these new players signing and new contracts being signed. They're 7-year contracts, plus the option of a further year sometimes. Here, Conor Gallagher was getting a 2-year deal, plus the option of a further year. So on face value, you could say Chelsea were trying to help out Conor Gallagher by agreeing this deal with Atletico Madrid. Cynics would say that Chelsea, by offering a contract that was not in line with what everyone else was getting, was another way of saying to Conor Gallagher, we want you to go. OK, fair enough. So Atletico, we know, Tim, are interested. Are they the only noise in town, or is there interest from the Premier League?
Well, Dharmesh mentioned it there, didn't he? Aston Villa had a bid accepted by Chelsea earlier in the summer. That move didn't happen. And even last week, 2 top 6 Premier League clubs contacted Chelsea about Gallagher. But throughout this process, Chelsea's wish is for, or preference is for him to move abroad. This is a big move for him. Of course, he could have gone on a free next summer, so they were keen to get a deal done. This is a player that's been at Chelsea since he was 8 years of age, so it's a big move for him. He's 24 now, and of course, with the change in England manager as well, and the fact that he's established himself, within that England squad, it's a big move because he needs to be playing regular football at the very highest level.
So, Atletico strengthening if they get Conor Gallagher. Could they get Julian Alvarez from Manchester City as well?
Yeah, we know that talks have been taking place over the course of the weekend, and in the last half an hour or so, David Ornstein from The Athletic is reporting that this deal is edging closer. Crucially, he says, not done yet, but it is edging closer. Pep Guardiola was asked about this over the weekend, and he said there was nothing to say. In fact, he said he was looking forward to welcoming him back to Manchester after the Olympics.
Well, he said he's our player, didn't he?
Yep, he did. Alvarez himself, he has said that he'd make a decision after the Olympics in Paris as well. So that's the state of play, but we now understand that this is edging closer. But there's a knock-on to this as well, because Chelsea are in talks with Atletico Madrid striker Samu Omorodion about a deal which could be around £35 million. It's a bit of a transfer jigsaw, this, isn't it, with regards to strikers, Darmish?
Yeah, so with all of those deals potentially happening, the one we were talking about in the last couple of weeks was the potential swap that would see Romelu Lukaku go from Chelsea to Napoli and Victor Osimhen go from Napoli to Chelsea. Now, you just wonder if these deals for Julian Alvarez and Omorodion can go through, what impact that is going to have on a potential deal there. We do know that Napoli won't be involved in these deals. They still want Romelu Lukaku to come to the club because Antonio Conte is the head coach there. He's worked with Romelu Lukaku before. Lukaku was fantastic for them when they won the Serie A title back in 2021 under Antonio Conte. So it's little wonder why he wants to be reunited with him. We think that Chelsea would want around £35 million for him. But as part of that deal, Napoli are going to have to release Victor Osimhen, who's on massive money, who's got a huge release clause, and they would want some sort of permanent deal attached to that deal, whether it will be a permanent sale straight away, which, if they go for Omorodion, would they be able to afford another £100 million plus for Victor Osimhen? Or can they do it whereby it's a loan with an option that becomes an obligation at some point? So that's all going to still have to be discussed. We think that those discussions are still ongoing while these other deals are still happening. But, you know, it can make it slightly more problematic for a club, especially like Napoli, who have Victor Osimhen, who they've decided is basically not going to be part of the plans because they want to bring Romelu Lukaku. They had a pre-season friendly over the weekend against Girona, and Victor Osimhen wasn't involved at all for Napoli in that game, which probably sends a signal out. This is the intention of what we want to do. We want to bring Romelu Lukaku in, but we need Victor Osimhen to leave. There are lots of pieces in this jigsaw, and when you look at some of these pieces, it doesn't look like it could be completed. But if those talks can continue between Chelsea and Napoli, if Alvarez can still go to Atletico, if Omorodion can still go to Chelsea, and the other deal can still be discussed, there is a situation where everybody could be a winner in this one.
Apart from Manchester City, if Alvarez goes, Tim, because how are they going to get a striker of that quality to come in as a backup to Erling Haaland, and only a backup?
Not easy, but Manchester City will have prepared for this, so they'll have their alternatives, if you like, but let's wait and see whether this one gets done first. But I'm sure Manchester City have a contingency plan.
Indeed. All right, let's talk Manchester United, because PSG have announced the signing of the midfielder João Neves from Benfica in a deal worth up to £58 million. So, Darmish, what does that do for United's pursuit of Manuel Ugarte?
Right. We know that PSG were keen to do a deal for Ugarte even before they'd signed João Neves. Now, to spend that much money on a player, this guy's going to start for PSG. So they will be even more keen now to do a deal for Manuel Ugarte. United, we do know, remain interested, but not at the prices being quoted by PSG. We think they want in the region of €70 million because they want to make a profit to what they paid Sporting Lisbon last summer. United don't want to go anywhere near that kind of figure. Hence why United are still looking at a permanent deal for Ugarte, but also exploring the possibility of a loan. Initially, that comes with an option that may turn into an obligation at some point. Ugarte himself, we understand, is very keen to move to Old Trafford. But we also know that Manchester United are looking at other midfielders as well. One that is a familiar face from last season is Sofyan Amrabat. They're still talking to Fiorentina to try and bring down the price because they'd already agreed an option price of 20 million euros, which they don't want to take up. But they still want to negotiate on that price. So don't rule out Sofyan Amrabat potentially coming to Manchester United. But against the backdrop of all of this, and in keeping of what Manchester United are doing in this transfer window, the two key elements of any transfer right now moving forward for United is budgets and squad space. So they need to create money and squad space by selling players. Scott McTominay could be key in what happens with Manchester United with regard to midfield incomings in this transfer window. Dialogue remains open with Fulham over a potential signing of Scott McTominay. They've been in twice, £17 million and around £20 million, both of which have been rejected. Fulham are now discussing internally whether they want to go back in with an improved offer for Scott McTominay, but it seems that United would probably have to compromise on their asking price for Fulham to come back to the table. They themselves, rather like United with Duarte, are looking at alternative targets. And throughout this transfer window, there's been a long-standing interest in the Fluminense midfielder, Andre. So definitely one to watch. We're talking about holding patterns, dominoes, jigsaw puzzles. These are all the phrases that we're going to use during this window.
And squad space, I like that. So will Man United make more squad space and lose Aaron Wan-Bissaka? We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll discuss his possible move to West Ham United, who, as he said, have got busy. See you in a moment. Hello again. Let's remind you of the breaking news in the last 20 minutes or so. West Ham have signed Germany international striker Niclas Füllkrug. Dharmesh, just recap the details for us.
Done deal. Signed from Borussia Dortmund for £27.5 million all in. We think he signed a 4-year contract. That's a good deal for him as well. 31 years old, remember. German international, but was a high performer at Euro 2024. Played in all of Germany's games and scored twice. And he won't be the only player who will be making his way to West Ham United this week, we think. That's because the Argentina midfielder, Guido Rodriguez, has completed his medical. He's just finalising his deal to go to West Ham United. We expect that one to be announced in the next 24 to 48 hours as well. He's a free agent, is Rodriguez, after his contract at Real Betis expired. And he comes with quite a good pedigree as well, does Guido Rodriguez, part of the Argentina squad that won the World Cup and was also part of the Argentina squad that has won the last 2 Copa America tournaments as well. So Niclas Füllkrug in, Guido Rodriguez imminent.
And also in Crescencio Somerville, Tim, and I know your beat is up north, so what's the knock-on effect for Leeds United?
Well, first of all, great signing for West Ham. It got done on Saturday night. The clause in his contract was activated by West Ham, but Leeds are looking to replace him now. Of course, the EFL season gets underway this weekend, so the clock is ticking. They're interested in Jonathan Rowe, a winger at Norwich City. There are 2 potential stumbling blocks to this deal. First of all, whether Norwich will sell to a championship rival. Also, there could be a stumbling block with regards to the fee, whether they can agree a fee. And in addition to that, Gabriel Sara, the Norwich midfielder, they sold him to Galatasaray over the weekend as well. One of their standout performers last season. So the optics don't look great for Norwich, selling 2 of their key players in the week leading up to the start of the new season. So he's one option for Leeds, but it will be a difficult deal to get done. They're also interested in a deal for the Crystal Palace winger, Jisirun Raksaki. Now, he's a player that a lot of clubs are looking at. He's a young player, very talented, and he'll have options. So Leeds will be looking to get a loan deal done for him. And they're also looking at a loan for a fullback, Hugo Bueno from Wolves is a player they're interested in. The problem that Leeds have with loans is that they will not guarantee them playing time. They will have to earn the playing time. And, of course, when Premier League clubs loan players out, they want them to play. Absolutely.
Dharmesh, we've been speaking a lot in this window about Aaron Wan-Bissaka and a potential move to West Ham. How close?
I've been stood here for the last 2 weeks telling you it's close. I'm trying to think of different ways of saying close. Near, not too far away.
Adjacent.
But yeah, so West Ham United are still pushing. We knew at the start of the week they were looking at 4 deals and trying to complete 4 deals. They've done 2 of them already. Somerville and Füllkrug. We've told you that Guido Rodriguez now is really, really close. This one they are pushing. This is a difficult deal to do, but I'm still told that there's cautious optimism that it can get done. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was with Manchester United, we know, on their US tour, and he played a full part in that US tour. We just think that they're edging closer on the fee and how the structure of that fee will be paid. We think that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is very open to that move, and personal terms aren't expected to be a problem. So I'm going to say it again. It looks like Aaron Wan-Bissaka to West Ham United is moving closer.
Right, so much going on. I want to rattle through these. Tim, Mark Gay, what's the story with him?
Newcastle would like him. We reported that on Friday. The problem here is the valuation in excess of £60 million. He fits the profile of what Eddie Howe would like, but Eddie Howe would also like to strengthen other areas of his squad, so it will be difficult to bring him in and then strengthen the other areas that he would like to bring in. So difficult one to do. Staying with Newcastle, though, Will Osula is having a medical, player from Sheffield United. He's up there having a medical today, so that one very close to being completed. OK,
Dharmesh, Mikel Merino. Is he close to Arsenal?
So much noise about this potential deal. What we do know is that Arsenal remain interested in the Real Sociedad midfielder Mikel Merino. He's returned after an extended break to pre-season training, and I'm told that Arsenal continue to explore the potential conditions of a deal. As yet, we don't think there's been a formal approach or a formal bid for Merino. He has, though, entered the final year of his contract, but he is one of a number of players that are under consideration in that position for Arsenal.
Galloping towards the end of the show, Tim. Celtic midfielder Matt O'Reilly. Anyone interested?
Brighton are in talks over a deal for him. Atalanta have also had several bids rejected. Chelsea were linked with him the other day as well. So lots of interest in him. It remains to be seen whether Brighton can get that deal done. But Celtic would want full market value for him.
Fabulous. Gentlemen, thank you very much. The boys are back at 7.